Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen VanGinhoven. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the producing artistic director of WAM Theater, which is a professional theater company in the beautiful Berkshires of Western Massachusetts. I'm zooming in today from the ancestral homelands of the Mohican tribe, and I could not be more thrilled that I am getting the opportunity to spend around 10 minutes with Nicole Brewer, who I'm going to be interviewing for this conference. Nicole, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today.
Thank you.
I'm going to share a little bit about who Nicole is, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I am very lucky that I met Nicole about a year and a half ago, I think, at this point. And I am lucky to be one of Nicole's clients. She is my anti-racist theater coach and has been incredibly influential in my own personal development and of WAM Theater's development as we work to disrupt the white supremacist culture that's inherent in me and in the company. So Nicole is a passionate advocate for anti-racist theater. She has spent the last 7 years refining and practicing an inclusive method of theater training and practices, which she calls conscientiousness theater training. Nicole has authored 4 articles about the need for the theater industry to shift from racist and oppressive models to anti-racist and anti-oppressive. Why Equity and Diversity and Inclusion Are Obsolete was reported by American Theater as one of the top 10 most read stories of 2019. So you can Google that, Why Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Are Obsolete by Nicole Brewer. Nicole has been invited all over the US to teach and speak about consciousness theater training and facilitate anti-racist theater workshops. She's also facilitated anti-racist theater workshops in the UK, providing workshops for the Globe and Cambridge University. She's a board member of the Parent Artist Advocacy League, where she works to shift how the industry can become more proactive to the needs of caregivers. She's one of 4 producers of the COVID-19 freelance artist website, freelanceartistresource.com. This producing collective also partnered with HowlRound to produce 6 weekly webinars that centered the needs of freelance artists impacted by the pandemic. Nicole is on the faculty in the acting department at the Yale School of Drama. She's worked at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, a premier performing arts school in Washington, D.C., as visiting faculty. She was visiting faculty at the National Theater Institute for several years. She was faculty in the theater department at Howard University for 7.5 years, and also worked at Northern Virginia Community College and Montgomery College teaching acting and introduction to communication courses. She's frequently asked to share her consciousness theater training and anti-racist theater training work at conferences such as the ATHE, SETC, TCG, the Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and in the UK at Goldsmiths College. Nicole earned her MFA in acting from Northern Illinois University and her BFA from Howard University, and she works professionally as an actor, director, and educator. So you can all see why I'm thrilled to be spending a few minutes with Nicole to talk about best practices for the arts and the theater industry in this time, or forever. So I want to ask you, as a place to start, this is a Moving the Dial conference around, race, class, and economic justice and healing around that. So what are you seeing in these extensive communities that you're working with that is evidence that real sustainable change around race, class, and economic justice might be happening?
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I'm just kind of taking a breath from that as I hear some of the stuff that I've done. I also want to share that I'm zooming in from the land of the Piscataway and the Conoy people, which is also known as Washington, D.C. And I would just say what resonates deeply about your question is that the most impacted communities are actually sharing and sharing in the same way that they would be sharing if the people who had caused them the most harm were not present, right? So if I was in an affinity group with all Black people, what I'm finding is that they would say something and then switch it up. If I was in a group with just different folks. And I'm being specific about not saying white because I think people edit themselves just outside of their community, right? What they're going to share, how they share it. And so I don't want to like say it's that binary, but I will say an example of that is hearing Black people speak very truthfully, vulnerably, with vulnerability and tenderly about their pain, about their experience, about their joy, about how they are surviving it and have been surviving it. And having folks then hold that, right? They're not trying to fix it. And at least the workshops that I'm in or facilitating, and then I ask people, we could hear that, we could feel that. What does that feel like just to hold that and not have to come back and fix it or come back and say, I'm sorry that that happened to you, just to be present with it, and see what that resonates in you and what does that generate for you in terms of shifts that could be occurring. So I would definitely say people sharing and sharing in a way that isn't edited or censored.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I know that I've been lucky enough to coach with you and also take your workshop. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit with those who are attending this conference about what we all need to do to make and or renew our commitment and our collective energy through civic engagement to move that dial more. I have a big question.
Big questions. I love this conference. I love this conference. I think where I'm at right now is the conversation with myself. The parts of me that I haven't been listening to, the parts of me that for a myriad of reasons, I've disconnected or created such a large gap from myself that I can't even hear, or maybe they've just become whispers around where I should be going, who I should be aligned with or in community with, and what I should be doing to tend to myself. So like, as you ask that question, I think about like, what are you doing? And then I'll come back to my own I. What am I doing to renew this sacred connection with myself? And what I have been doing is going deeper into a practice of, um, you know, calling on and talking to my ancestors, asking for the protection that I need to get through the day, finding more information about, scents, like the things that we can smell and what will that do to shift and change me in the moment, making sure that the music that I'm listening to is either meditative in quality or has a positive message within it. Things that help tie me back to myself, right? So that's one of the ways that I'm working to renew, and I'm offering that for other people too, is like, where are the gaps for you to you? How can you fill those things, right? And make sure that you're not skipping, which is funny because you and I were just talking a little earlier about skipping too. Can I just skip to the end? When it's like really difficult, can I just skip to the end? But like really finding my breath as a key to help me to be present with my own discomfort, to help me to strengthen and deepen my own analysis around the ways in which I am causing harm, right? Like, what are those inherited ways of thinking and being, and even strategies that I'm employing that are actually harmful for folks? And so I keep coming back because I don't want to get into a situation where I was before, where I was so outwardly focused on the institution, so outwardly focused with the person who I thought had the most positional power and could just like switch on a dime and give me my liberation and my freedom, that I have to keep coming back to myself and say, no, 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 you are the person who can give yourself liberation and freedom, right? Even within the constructs and in the confines of a racist society. That kind of joy and peace is possible, but not for me without a deep commitment to interrogate where I haven't been listening to myself, because I think the body knows how to reset. I think the body knows when it is imbalanced, and then the manifestation of that on our health, on our psyche, right? On our relationships with other people. So like, what do we need to get back? And so I guess my offer is thinking small, thinking about you and where the gaps are, in order to help get the energy that people need to move through civic engagement. And so through analysis, what is your role in the revolution? I mean, I love this question so much. If revolution doesn't feel right for you, then what is your role in the liberation practices and movement that we're doing? And then knowing that you have actually multiple roles based on your gifts and your talents. And so for now, I know that I'm brushing up against being exhausted around a role or a gift that I have as a facilitator or even an educator. But I think about, oh, my artistic practice as a director and an actor, these things have gone untended for about 10 months now. And so these are things that I need to like rest, the actor, the activist, and the educator. And then director and actor needs to find its space. So I'm still engaged, but I'm engaged differently. And I'm engaged in a way um, that just allows me to replenish while still working. So I just offer that to folks as well. Like, if you're a writer and you've been writing furiously for the last year, what is the other things that you do to tend to your spirit, and giving that a rest as well? So,
Mm,
yeah.
oh, beautiful. Thank you. I have one final question that I'd love to ask, which is, do you have an example of a healing justice transformation story that you'd be able to share with us to inspire us around moving the dial?
Yes. In terms of healing justice, there would say my story is one around that, and that was a story of remembrance, right? Like I had to remember who I was, because I had been functioning in a container that was defining who I was for me. And
Mm,
that kind of like violent whirlwind of physical assassination, character assassination, emotional assassination, spiritual assassination, it was delivered like kisses on a cheek. So I didn't realize that that's what was happening to me, until that final blow literally knocked the wind out of me. And all I could do was sob, deep, guttural sobs, around what had happened to me, right? And then to find myself, my way back from that, putting in the pieces that had been like robbed and taken from me, which was the foundation of conscientious theater training and as well as anti-racist theater. And then I would say, because I think it's important that, there's a feedback loop here, that a lot of the feedback that I get when I have the absolute privilege to collaborate with folks is around them being able to reclaim parts of their identity that have been tucked away or stored because they believe that they had to do that in order to succeed or be successful or even to survive. And I want to say that in many cases, that's true. Like for the most impacted communities, that's very true. Um, we are now in this shift, on this precipice of, is that still true now? And I believe in this like in between that it's not, that we can show up and we can ask for what we need, that those things can be heard in a different way. Communities are tending to one another, and that we do not have to continue to subsidize ourselves for organizations and or our careers. We can begin to withdraw the subsidy and in that place show up in the fullness of ourselves. So that's a lot of the feedback that I get from folks that it just makes me feel so good that someone else is like, yes, I'm gonna be me too.
Oh, wow. What a fantastic story. And being witness of a sort to, seeing that happen more and more and more is so thrilling. And I'm so humbled that I like know you and get to learn from you and alongside you and do that deep interrogating of myself alongside you is really moving, really moving. So I want to thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so excited that this is going to be part of this really special conference. I'm thrilled that Gwendolyn Van Zant will hear this interview. She's such an instrumental, another person in my life, but in our community's life that is, I'm really excited for her and for all the conference attendees to hear everything that you have to say. And I know you two will meet in person someday. I thank you for all that you're doing for the movement around gender and race and economic justice. And do you have any final words that you'd like to share?
Oh my goodness. Um, I just feel so full. And what I would want to say to folks is that there is there is another way of being. And I know that to be true because we are in this particular way of being, and it feels almost self-sustaining, like the people can come and go, but the racism and the oppression, it stays. It's so deeply rooted, but roots can be uprooted. They can be, it can be different and things can shift and change. Oh, I love technology. It's like beep, 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 beep. See, the technology was chiming in to agree. And so
Right,
like,
right.
even if we don't know what it feels like just yet to be in this other space and inhabit these other structures, if we don't know what it is as a sustained process, we have to believe that it is possible because we have this structure now that is harmful, um, extractive, painful, and built upon the suffering of others, right? So the other thing also is possible. So I would just say that even when you lose sight of what you're doing, bring it back to yourself and your own conversation with your body and your needs before you go back out to the external world, which is built on soft kisses, but also stealing bits of you as you go. So continue to just fortify yourself with knowing who you are. Um, and the magic that is knowing that you are sowing seeds and you are creating new possibilities for folks who have yet to exist. So that for me just gets my spine straight and my shoulders drop and my heart smiling. So I offer that.
Thank you for that offer. And thank you again for your time. I know it's precious, so I'm so grateful. Thank you, Nicole, for everything you do. I look forward to sharing this with everybody, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you.